So a university president telling his students to grow up or get out. The head of Oklahoma Wesleyan University writing an essay that has gone viral, aimed at the outbreak of school protests centered on political correctness that we have seen in many places across the country, many of them demanding that the university needs to offer them safe spaces for oppressed students. Dr. Everett Piper, appearing today on Fox & Friends, had this to say.
College is not about being safe. College is about learning what's good. C.S. Lewis tells us the great lion Aslan is not safe, but he's good. And I would paraphrase that and say the great lion of the liberal arts university is not safe, but it is good. It's about challenging your character, not coddling you so that you feel comfortable.
That's got a lot of people paying attention today. Dr. Piper's message now spreading across the country by this viral op-ed that he put out there. Leslie Marshall is a syndicated radio talk show host and Fox News contributor, Huffington Post blogger as well. Tom Sullivan hosts the Tom Sullivan Show on Fox News Radio. So welcome. Good to have you here. You know, we've seen what happened at Yale with the Halloween costumes, where a student berated a administrator there, basically saying, you know, how the blank can you even be working here, because it was suggested that kids, you know, needed to lighten up a little bit about the Halloween costumes. And we'd seen, you know, a variety of examples like this. So in this case, he is saying, look, you know what? College is a place where you want to be pushed outside your comfort zone. You want to be challenged. And Leslie, you're not happy with this comment.
Well, listen.
Well, you know what? You know what? I have to say, when I didn't go to college when dinosaurs were roaming the earth, but it was a little bit ago. And we all had different groups, whether it was women who had been sexually harassed on or off campus, whether it was African American groups, Latino groups, Asian groups, female groups, religious groups. We all had our, at the Student Center, rooms that we would sign up for and be appointed. And I do have a problem with this. I have 2 children. When I sign that tuition check someday, I expect them to be taught, to be educated, but to be safe and have an opportunity, especially if they're a minority on that campus, to have a place for their group to meet and to be safe in that meeting.
Listen, a college campus is not the real world. It never has been, never will be, and those students definitely are whiny, but I don't want to be at the risk of sounding like, you know, grandpa yelling about get off my lawn. Because every generation says, these young kids today, I'll tell you, it was tough. But, well, when I went to college, it was the 70s, and we didn't have protests. We rebelled. It was revolution. This stuff looked like patty cakes. But I got to tell you something. The universities today are also, the leadership is pompous and arrogant. And they are, this particular university, by the way, this one in Oklahoma that the president was just on, they charge $24,000 a year to go to that college, and if they're going to charge $24,000, they're going to have to listen to the students' concerns, and they're not. That's their problem.
Well, it's a Christian university, and so each one of these examples that we've looked at over the past few weeks in these colleges are dealing with a different situation. But in this situation, he gave a sermon. And after the sermon, one of the students came up and said, you know, that sermon made me feel like I don't love enough, you know, that I'm not a good enough person. And that invades my safe space because you kind of made me feel guilty for not being a good Christian. And that's really not fair. And here's what he said in response to that. Let's put this full screen up. He said, the feeling of discomfort that you have after listening to a sermon is called a conscience. It's supposed to make you feel guilty. And that goes along with the territory, as many of us can attest to, as you sit and listen to a Christian sermon. So, you know, Leslie, does he have a point?
I know a number of people that would call themselves recovering, and you can just fill in the religious adjective after, that will say they're recovering because of the guilt. I don't agree with that at all. I think he needs to look at the tongue is mightier than the sword part of the Bible. And Tom, I think you and I agree on this. And I think when you have $24,000 a year checks being written and you're saying, look, my way or the highway or get out, I think he might be looking for a job if a lot of people decide not to write that tuition check next year.
I see where you're coming from, but, you know, I think he's saying, you know, you have to be humbled in college as well. You have to realize what you don't know a little bit. Because, you know, when you're in college, you feel like you kind of know everything. And you need to challenge maybe you're put on this earth to serve other people and not be feeling like everybody needs to be tiptoeing around your feelings and making sure that nobody's offending you. I think that's where he's going with this, Tom.
This culture, though, of getting a trophy for participation, and all of this has been going on for a long, long time. There's a lot of adults, too, that are they're always playing the victim card. I don't agree with that. I also, like I said, I think these students are whining, but they will learn about the real world, not on a college campus, because that's not real. That's a special place. They will learn about the real world when they get out of school and go and find a job. And then they'll learn.
But are we preparing them? Are we doing a good job of preparing them by protecting all of their feelings and making sure that, a microaggression against them, or someone who says just to a student, hey, are you good at math? And, if they're Asian, that's a microaggression. I mean, are we going overboard here, Leslie?
I don't think we're going overboard because, Tom, we'll disagree a little bit. Yeah, college isn't the real world. But in the real world, if you are offensive to a coworker, you could lose your job. There could be a lawsuit that could cost money, which is the bottom line of any company, including this college. And there are women that have protested and have fought for rooms to breastfeed their children when they're at work. The list goes on. So a little bit of the real world is there regarding demands and regarding political correctness, tolerance, and not expecting to be discriminated against and have a safe zone at work, if you will, as well.
Every generation of college kids has always complained about something. It's sometimes more vociferous than other times. But they've always complained. And the difference now, especially at Mizzou, that was, they played the race card there, but really was about the fact that they're charging an arm and a leg to these kids. They're paying a fortune to go to these schools. And the administration of a lot of colleges basically dismisses the students like, go away, just pay us your tuition and behave, and we'll do whatever we want to do, and don't bother us. Well, if you're going to charge that much money, you better listen to the students' concerns. Now, you don't have to placate their whining,
All right,
but at least engage them. And that's why the president of Mizzou, he ignored them. So it blew up. And that's what happened.
No longer working there. All right. Thank you very much, Leslie and Tom. Good to see you both.